Here is something you observed in the market the last couple of weeks. The stocks are down from the sell-offs, and some of your Bitcoin friends said it is a great time to buy the dip. Because the government will help injecting money and it is free money from the recession. So as I kept watching the Federal Reserve Board announcing ways to help the economy, I saw the news of unlimited amount of quantitative easing, aka QE, took place, and it makes me start to question. QE essentially is Fed printing money, buys bond in the market, and it's just like legal counterfeiting. Unloading unwanted assets from the bank plus letting them borrow free money, in theory, releases their financial pressure. Meanwhile, the banks who can borrow cheap money are competing with each other so the business can get cheaper loans. It gives business then the cash to survive the short-term troubles, including lack of customers, cost of renting, and so on. It works well for larger business down to local public schools. At least from the money, they just need to make sure they won't disappear when everything's over. Since everything's supposed to go back to normal, is it a good time to buy back in? For sure, QE is good at stimulating business, injecting cash, and increase opportunities. But also, it is really good at creating bubble and inequality. For example, Dave had an idea, so he registered for a company because he is a prompt man, so he gets some cheaper loans. He hires some employees, sell the goods, and makes a profit. As long as he has a good profit outlook, he can borrow more money at a cheaper rate to pay back his existing debt and hopefully expand. If Dave didn't make a good profit in the run, slowly he cannot take a loan at the cheaper rate. In the end, he will declare bankruptcy or get acquired or restructured. Remember, it is a good thing because that's how business keep delivering quality products at a cheaper price, or simply not tricking customers. But the Fed policy suddenly aligns with Dave's problems, and from Fed printing money, Dave can borrow perhaps even cheaper loans to pay back money he owned and keep rolling over the debt. It is the cumulative effect of this creates a huge bubble for the economy. From 2008, the debt level more than doubled. Around $4.5 trillion in debt was added to the economy. To put that into perspective, it equals to the value of Netflix, Amazon, Microsoft, and Google all added together. Moreover, the BBB bond, which is in borderline with the junk bond, in 2018 is bigger than the entire investment grade market in 2007. They were issued at a 10 to 15 years long term from 2018. That is why you can see a debt maturity cliff coming up in the next 5 years. They have to pay back the face value of their debt at the time, especially there is a huge amount of speculative grade debt, also called junk bond. For saving the economy, Fed keeps adding money by QE. Until recently, for the same reason, the Fed is pumping up unlimited amount of money with the easy tap to loans. As a result, increasingly you can see CEOs are likely to use the loan to buy their company shares back. So to shrink their shares outstanding and raise up the price of their shares. Because they own a huge amount of the share, this adds a drastic amount of money to their wallet. To put that into perspective, in 2008, a CEO on average makes 200 times more than regular employee, but by 2017 this goes up to 300. To be fair, it might have been the right solution at the time, but the structure surely made the wealth gap diverging further apart in the United States, thus deepening the problem. So throughout the sweet bull market, retail investors may got the candies from the market, but the CEOs surely got the sundae. We didn't live off the Fed's balance sheet, but the management level surely were living off Fed's balance sheet. At some point, if Fed stops buying or hike the rate, it becomes a huge problem for companies who are exposed to risks because they simply can't pay back the debt. Then it's when the bubble should burst. Some point should come from the increasing in spending causing inflation to rise. The Fed will hike the rate to keep it at 2%. During the hike, it takes out the ones who are exposed to risks, like social Darwinism. But when Corona shock comes in, with the help of aid and lowering rate, rather than letting natural selection do the work, more bad blood was even injected. But is it a very bad thing though? Well, not really, because companies like Tesla, Netflix, and Amazon, among many well-known companies, really had the cash to expand. But they may have succeeded. But how many more cannot even make an appearance? When a Tesla succeeds, how many other Tesla has failed? At this point, we go back to the question, should you look for an opportunity to buy the free recession money? If you're concerned it's a corporate, then the answer is leaning towards yes. In 2018, the Fed saved the AIG and the big banks. Those were so-called too big to fail. But with all the money pumping into the economy this time, the corporates are too big to fail. But from a behavior standpoint, no matter you run a family, business, or a country, you should always save some for a rainy day, or you don't know what's gonna happen next. With all this amount of injection causing the new norm of living off Fed's balance sheet, keep increasing the wealth gap, and more depreciation of the US dollars, and perhaps sudden inflation. But nothing is as permanent as the current policy. So those problems are apparently for the future. For small or private-owned shops and restaurants, losing money because of renting costs and lack of customers makes it very uncertain. Surviving heavily depends on one's ability to pay for the next term. In this case, the best thing a government can help is by bottom-up approach, because although they share similar problems with corporates, but they are too far down the pyramid. Incentivized shopping is the most straightforward way. A tax cut is one of the few things that's really efficient in this scenario. Unfortunately, most of the aids are top-down approach. For example, increasing the supply of money, giving out loans to small businesses. Although those sound very helpful, but bureaucratic system is also really good for taking out fees or be slow on actions. Like lots of NGO, if you donate $100 to an NGO, the operating cost takes out around 95% of the donation. In the end, 3 months later, you can walk around your downtown and see which shops are open and which ones are gone.